Is 2 hours in sports talk radio. Get ready for Chase Robinson.
He has got to be a player they can rely on in big situations.
And Gerhard Mathangani.
Has the trust of his team. Sounds like the makeup of his team is in a really good space, and I believe that's because of the culture he's curated down there.
For WKXX Live, these guys have you covered from preps to pros and everything in between. Now, let's go inside the Fox Sports 102.9 studio with Chase and Gerhard for WKXX Live.
Welcome in on a Friday afternoon. It is WKXX Live, Football Friday and a Baseball Friday. Chase Robinson, Gerhard Mathangani in studio with you for the next 1 hour. And, of course, short shows on Friday. We got to get ready for some football. Greg Watkins and I are heading up to Sylvania this afternoon. Get ready for Oaks Bluff and the Sylvania Rams. Where are you going to be at tonight, Gerhard?
I'll be over in Talladega, in the Talladega County area. Have the Anniston-Talladega game and also have the Munford game today against White Plains there. So, in their big matchup today. And we have Coach Michael Easley on the show, the head coach of Munford. So that's the reason I'm going out there. So I'm also going to hit the Talladega-Anniston game while I'm in the county.
All right. So it is going to be a great night of high school football. We'll dive into that in a second. We're also going to talk plenty of college football today. We'll get into the NFL, our picks, and we got to talk Braves baseball later on as well. Game 3 tonight, big news today. Spencer Strider is the starter for the Braves. We'll break down that game coming up later on. But I do want to start with high school football, and of course, we do welcome in your phone calls at 256-413-1029. We've got some big games tonight, and you get into this time of the year in high school football, and it is it's that time where a lot of teams are starting to clinch spots in the playoffs. You've got games that could end up being region championship games. There's just tonight and next week left in region play. So a lot of good football and so many good games tonight, and games that mean a lot, that are going to decide who's going to be at home, who's going to be on the road in a couple of weeks when the playoffs start.
The next 48 hours, actually 72 when you think about the NFL, are going to be so huge as far as individual games. In high school football, it all gets teed off tonight as far as the big games go, and especially here locally. But you're right. It's one of the things where it's not only region championships, but in a couple of cases that will highlight this could be a precursor to another matchup that we see again a little bit later on in the playoffs. And so it's really interesting to see how these region races go, mainly because, especially if you're battling for 2 versus 3, or if you're battling for 1 versus 4.
Yeah.
It's another situation in those cases where do you go on the road for your first round playoff game? Are you at home for your first round playoff game? Huge differences there because of the way the bracket lines up.
There's a lot at stake for many of local teams here in Northeast Alabama. We're going to give you kind of a list of games that you're really going to want to keep an eye on tonight, and keep up with those scores here on Scoreboard later. But in 1A Region 6, Donahoe at Spring Garden. Spring Garden number 6, big game, should be a great win there.
Yeah, and most definitely because it's a situation for Donahoe and Spring Garden as it sits right now. Raglan and Wadley are the top 2 in that region. Donahoe and Spring Garden are 3, 4, so they could flip-flop there or even get a chance to move themselves up. So the winner of this game definitely has a leg up. And it's a weird situation where you can go all the way up to 2 or all the way down to 4.
Yeah. In 1A Region 7, Appalachian comes to Coosa Christian in Gadsden, and Coosa Christian's had a great run in region play. These are 2 of the top teams in that region. It should be fun.
Yeah, they scheduled really difficult outside of their region, but their 3 wins are in the region. Appalachian, Coosa Christian come in with the exact same region record, both 3-1, all teams sitting behind undefeated Valley Head. So we'll have a clearer picture on who's the 2, maybe who's the 3 there in that region.
In 2A Region 7, I'm excited about this one. I can't wait to see the score of it. Number 1 Fife at number 5 Pisgah.
Yeah, this is another great one for me because you think back to last year when Fife was in 3A. Fife was sitting on a long winning streak. Then they played Geraldine, and everybody thought that Fife would just beat Geraldine, and Geraldine came in with a really solid team and ended up getting the win. I believe it was by either a 1 point or 2. And Pisgah represents another challenge for this team. Now, Pisgah's a little banged up, and so they'll have some questions to answer, but they're undefeated going into this big-time matchup. Fife, to me, is one of the teams that will compete for that 2A state championship, but this is also another game that, if Pisgah can get healthy, maybe they could come back and these two teams meet a little bit down the road in the playoffs.
Yeah, for sure. That'll be a fun one. You also got West End and Cleveland tonight. That is at Cleveland in 2A Region 6. Cleveland and West End both kind of fighting for better position there in the playoffs. West End has just been so impressive this year and what Coach Derek Sewell's done there.
I mean, just the turnaround there has been nothing short of sensational. And Coach Sewell, he said at the beginning of the season over at Etowah County Media Day that he wanted to help change the culture. And it looks like all the guys have bought in to that change in culture. And now the records and the results have showed themselves. They've only lost one game. They've only lost one game in the region. And this is a really good chance. Them and Cleveland's 3-1. They're 3-1. Keep in mind, Cleveland went to the state championship game just a year ago. Yeah. So a really good litmus test for them this year.
In Class 3A Region 6, this region's just all up. And nobody knows what's going on in this region. Geraldine is at Piedmont tonight. Piedmont wins. They will, of course, be the region champs. Geraldine has a really good team. That could really throw things off if Geraldine was to go into the field of champions tonight and get a win.
Yeah, I think that, all you have to do is harken back, like I said, just the last year where Geraldine was able to knock off an undefeated in-region 5 team. So, Geraldine's going to come in really confident because they literally just got it done about a year ago. Meanwhile, Piedmont, to me, playing some really good football right now. They understand the magnitude of this game. So, and being able to clinch that championship and not have any tiebreakers because we very well could have some. And Piedmont wants to make sure they don't have any at the top.
Yes. Hoax Bluff at Sylvania tonight. You'll hear that one here on Fox Sports 102.9 coming up at 6:30 for the pregame show. Hoax Bluff, because of that loss last week to Ohatchee, these games are important to kind of secure a playoff spot. If they had beaten Ohatchee last week, it would have been a much different conversation. They would have been pretty secure in a spot. They really need to go and get a win tonight.
No doubt. And this is a big game for Hoax Bluff going into it. Big game for Sylvania. They think that they let one off the hook a couple of weeks ago against Plainview. Hoax Bluff thinks they let one off the hook 7 days ago. So it's a kind of a get right spot for both teams, but especially for Hoax Bluff, who can move up once again. And there's different scenarios here for every team.
Yeah.
Because after Piedmont, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6, which, obviously top 4 getting to the playoffs, it's just kind of a toss-up there because the game we just mentioned, Piedmont, the game right here, and the game we will mention are all really big in this region.
And Westbrook goes to Plainview, and again, Plainview got that win over Sylvania last Thursday night. So in that Hoax Bluff Sylvania game, you have two teams that lost. Mm-hmm. Westbrook just lost by 3 to Geraldine last week. Plainview beat Sylvania. This is setting up to be a really big game honestly, these teams are still fighting for a playoff chance as well.
Yeah, they both are. Both at 2 and 3 in the region, but they're probably some of the better teams. They would be the better team in almost any other 3A region to me.
Yeah.
And you just take a look at the results, and you just not mentioned it, how Westbrook and Geraldine played a really tight game, and I expect Geraldine to give Piedmont some problems as well. So this is a Plainview team riding high off that win last week against Sylvania, so that both teams can look in the mirror and say, hey, we know we can get this done because we were able to do X during the season. And so, yeah, it's another big matchup as it relates to the playoffs, and all of these teams had their eye on the playoffs. It's just being able to color what seed they are.
In 4A Region 6, there is a showdown at Bobby Joe Johnson Field tonight in Cherokee County. Number 10 Etowah comes to number 9 Cherokee County tonight. This is a huge matchup in that region. Etowah is at the top. Cherokee County sits at 3 behind Aniana. This game could go a long way in deciding that region.
And I love the kind of battle within the battle of this football game because Etowah comes in with one of the better defenses in the entire state, and Cherokee County can really light it up on the scoreboard as far as scoring goes. Strength on strength, great defense versus great offense. We talked about it on the Monday Night Quarterback Club, or Monday Night Quarterback Show, and in case you didn't hear it there, I'll repeat it again. Etowah's defense in the last few games, they allowed 7 points, 7 points, 6 points, 12, and they had a shutout. So Their defense is playing really solid football right now. Meanwhile, Cherokee County can easily put up 40 points per game. That's the matchup to me. If Cherokee County can win that, and I don't know what winning that means, 35 points, 28 points, what can Etowah's defense really do? And then Etowah, they could score as well. So I really like this matchup for so many reasons, not to mention the playoff implications that are in store here because Etowah's undefeated in region play. Cherokee County coming in with that 3-1 record.
And there's even more playoff implications in 5A Region 6. There's 4 teams that they've already that we already know they're going to the playoffs. It's just deciding in what spots are they going. There's a huge matchup. Number 2 Leeds at number 3 Moody. One of the top games in the state tonight.
Yeah, and it's for so many reasons. It's all the reasons why you love high school athletics. These are 2 teams that don't sit more than 20 miles away from one another. It's also 2 teams that are undefeated in region play. It's also 2 teams that we expect to make deep playoff runs, and they're top 5 in the state. And this could match up a little bit later on in the playoffs. So this game becomes mightily important to who might host that game a little bit later on. There's a lot of football between now and then, but you could forecast that. So 2 teams that come in undefeated. Once again, battle of 4-11. They're really close to one another. And it's just like all the rivalries that are here closer to this area where, whether it's churches and grocery stores and whatnot, they all see each other. Then you add the football element on top of it. This is everything that you want in a high school football game. And then at the very end as well, a region championship on the line.
Yeah, for sure. I thought that may have been the TV game tonight, but the TV game is Southside at Alexandria, another huge one there in 5A Region 6. As one of them probably going to be 3, the other 4 just got to figure out what order they're going to be in.
Yeah, that game over in Death Valley, it's not an easy place to go get a victory. Leeds did it last week. But Alexandria played well. It was turnovers that really killed Alexandria in that week. Can they protect the football against a really good Southside team? If they cannot, Southside can really score. And so Alexandria needs to be able to not only protect the football, but find ways to score. They struggled last week. They had one of their starters out during the game last week. So we hope that he's able to get on the field here today. But I think it's another game where it's kind of the matchup to me is the Southside offense against the Alexandria defense.
And in 5A Region 7, a Marshall County battle here as number 7 Gunnersville takes on number 10 Arab.
That's a great game for so many reasons. There's a budding, in my opinion, powers that are coming out of that part of the state of Alabama, and it looks to be these 2 football teams. And you take a look at what Gunnersville has done for a very long time, and what Arab has been able to do under head coach Lee Osment. Undefeated in region play. We knew he would have success wherever he went, but it's taken him a little while, but it's been a great climb to the top. Now Gunnersville, who's had the success for a very, very long time, they'll try to make their stamp in here. As it stands right now, Gunnersville is tied with Scottsboro as far as the region records go. But keep in mind, Scottsboro ended up coming up with a big win there. So Arab and Gunnersville, to me, a fantastic football game. It's another 2 teams that are ranked in the top 10 polls in the state.
Another interesting matchup before we go to break. In 7A, number 1 Auburn at number 4 Central Phoenix City. This was a rematch from last year's semifinals to make it to that 7A title game. Boy, is this going to be a good one.
And I think that's going to be another good one today. And I think the same stakes are at play.
Yeah.
I think the winner of this game has the driver's seat as far as who represents the South in Class 7A football.
This should be a fun one as well. We got to jump to a break here because we got to get to some college football. We just got 1 hour to get everything in today. We're moving quickly. We'll talk college football next year on WKXX Live.
Hi, I'm
We continue here on this Friday afternoon, WKXX Live. Jason Gerhard, we are with you till 3 o'clock today as we're going to be heading out, getting ready for some football. You'll hear the press box from 3 to 5. The Lindy's College Football Report comes your way at 5, from 5 to 5:30. Then we'll have game night, high school football preview show. And then at 6:30, I'll come back on with Greg Watkins. We'll be at Sylvania High School and to bring you Hoax Bluff at Sylvania tonight. And then following the game, you'll hear the high school football scoreboard show with Jeff Allen and Phil Harris. So great programming coming your way all the way from now until midnight here on Fox Sports 102.9. We got to get around the SEC because there's some big SEC games happening. And I think the one to headline it all is number 3 versus number 6, Alabama at Tennessee, the third Saturday in October. And it is setting up to be a huge matchup.
Yeah, the biggest one in the country by far. And this game has done a complete pendulum swipe from being irrelevant to now being the country's marquee game, and for good reason, because you see what Tennessee's been able to do under Josh Heupel. They continue that build. We just talked about it with Lee Osmond and Arab. They just continue to build and build and build. And to me, one of the things that marks a good coach and a good program is to be able to do that. Start some recruiting, and then right now, today's day, you got to go to the transfer portal as well. Yeah. Tennessee's done well in both, and they've been able to set themselves up with the number 1 offense in the country as it relates to total yards. Meanwhile, Alabama, once again, really, really good at defense. No surprise there.
This matchup, you think in the last 15 years, it's been all Alabama.
Yeah.
You look at the older Alabama fans, though, remember this game and what it meant and how special it was. This is probably the biggest rivalry in the SEC, biggest rivalry on Alabama's schedule was Alabama and Tennessee. And so now I feel like the younger fans are finally able to see, and I know most of my life it's been Alabama dominating. Right. But I remember back in the early 2000s, Philip Fulmer at Tennessee,
right.
And towards the end of Peyton Manning's era there of Tennessee able to win. But the younger fans now I think are going to be able to really get a grasp on this rivalry tomorrow.
No doubt about it. I think that when they talk to their fathers and their grandfathers about this rivalry, they can look to their kids and say, "Hey, when I was growing up, this is a version of what this game was all the time." And they'll be able to kind of get a glimpse of what the Alabama-Tennessee rivalry is. So, yes, it basically skipped a generation, you would say. Yeah. I mean, about 20 years of Alabama dominance, or close to 20 years of Alabama dominance. And so it's good to see this all come back once again. And I'm really excited about it. I think a lot of people are too. They call it, they have a hate week label on it. They have cigars after the game. It lets you know that it's a big game, and it's going to be great for the younger generation to kind of see how this game was always played in the rivalry.
It is. And two good teams. You mentioned the offense for Tennessee, but the guys they're going to be facing for the Crimson Tide tomorrow, the defense is something else.
Oh, yeah. This is a fast defense. This is a aggressive defense. You heard yesterday, and really all week is when our guests come on talking about the Alabama defense and how sturdy they are and just how great they are as far as being able to match up to what you do and being able to, hey, if we're matching up against a team that likes to power run, well, we have DJ Dale and company that can help and power and help that run. If we play a team with pace, with tempo, likes to get the ball out like Tennessee likes to do, well, we could put our quick package in. The cheetah package is what they call it, when they essentially have one down lineman and basically 3 guys that can play outside linebacker, a faster team, but where they're even better is on third down. They're number 2 in the country behind Minnesota on third down conversions. They have to be able to get teams off the field, especially the better quarterbacks. You cannot let a better quarterback continue to sustain drives. Hendon Hooker's one of those guys. Bryce Young is one of those guys for the Tennessee defense to handle. But Bama as of right now, is sitting, I think, 22.6%, allowing teams to get that next first down. They really need to do that against a really good quarterback.
Good job of affecting the quarterback, which is always, beneficial on third down. I think we've done a pretty good job of disguising and mixing things in the back end. Done a fairly good job of covering. So, it's a combination of all 11 guys doing what they're supposed to do that I think, helps you be effective and understanding the situation and playing the situation that you're in and everybody doing what they're supposed to do. And most of the time when we haven't had success on third down, it's, a mental error or missed assignment or something like that. So, hopefully, some of the offensive team we're playing this week is going to be much more challenging. So everybody's going to have to, play as well as they're capable of playing and do it all together as a unit for us to be successful against this group.
And he is right. I mean, the challenge that is up ahead for the Crimson Tide, a very good offense led by Hendon Hooker, and this should be a really good game. And Tennessee, obviously, they have not been in many of these big games. Alabama definitely has. So I think for Tennessee, they want to prove something, and they have the opportunity to in this game.
One of the things that high school coaches talk about all the time, you see it a lot in on the college level as well. They call it winning that. To turn a program around, you got to win the game that you're probably not supposed to win. This represents that for Tennessee. They've done that over the past, being able to pick up wins against Pitt and others. Now they have a chance to knock off the perennial power, not only of this, last few years, but basically of the last 20 years, as long as Nick Saban's been around. This is the power program. They now have the opportunity to be that, to beat that team that's been at the mountaintop for a really long time. This represents to me something special, not just for this year's team, but for the Tennessee football program as a whole.
You better enjoy it. There's been a lot of work that's gone on from our staff and our players, to be able to play in games like this that matter from the outside. You know what I mean? And to have this type of attention, you should enjoy, ball walk. There's not a better pregame experience in all of college football than that. The energy inside of our stadium when you're running through the tee, you better enjoy that moment. Now, when the ball's kicked off, it's 11 on 11. You got to reset. You got to be, focused on doing your job at a really high level. When you're on the sidelines, you got to be able to take adjustments and then go execute them. You got to be in the moment. But yeah, for a brief second, you can enjoy the build-up and the lead-up to kickoff. And I think our players have handled it in a really pretty good way here this year.
Neyland Stadium is going to be rocking tomorrow afternoon at 2:30. There on CBS is Tennessee hosting Alabama, biggest one of these games in probably 15 years. But the atmosphere is going to be unreal there in Knoxville.
Electric. And Josh Heupel talked about it. And I think that he's right about balancing those emotions, because you just can't suppress it and say this is any other game. That's nonsense, because it's not. And I like the fact that Josh Heupel didn't do it a few weeks ago, and he's not doing it here. Enjoy the moment, but continue to remember that, all the hype on all the outside stuff means nothing when you get into the game.
And right now, I believe Alabama an 8-point favorite. Heard that maybe it's a little higher now. Mm-hmm. And maybe the folks think Bryce Young could walk out there and lead the offense tomorrow.
Yeah. I'll pull it up on the odds board that I normally look at, and if that's the case, either number one, some big money is coming in Alabama, and if big money's come in, you got to ask why. And if the answer is because they expect number 9 to be on the field, well, that lets you know just how much of a difference he makes to this game and to this team. And especially keep in mind, in the Texas game, the last big game environment, they were on the road. It was Bryce Young's poise at the end of the game that took Alabama over the top. Texas probably, you ask whoever, Texas probably played a little bit better in the first three and a half quarters.
Yeah.
But when you needed the playmaker, he was the guy. Is that same situation going to play out in Knoxville? Who knows? But you definitely want him on the field.
Yes, you sure do. And so we'll see. Alabama at Tennessee coming up tomorrow, 2:30 on CBS. Tomorrow at 11 a.m., you see Auburn at number 9, Ole Miss, and the Rebels right now 15-point favorites over the Auburn Tigers.
And it's not much surprise. I mean, Ole Miss is playing very well, and Auburn's not playing very well. And Ole Miss is back at home in a big SEC game. We saw what they did last week against Vanderbilt, and now they're back home. And this is a game where Ole Miss, they don't have to manufacture motivation here, because they haven't beat Auburn in the last 6 tries, including last year when they were favored in that matchup. So Auburn played well last year in this game, and that was the last time we've seen Auburn play well against a Power 5 opponent. Now Lane Kiffin and company all come in, and he obviously wants that. He wants the Grove to be rocking, and he wants the stadium to be rocking as well. As an Auburn team comes in, and like I said, no manufactured motivation here when it comes to Ole Miss football. They know what they want here in this matchup.
Huge game coming up. Team that has beat us twice and has really good players and has played really good at times, and so we're going to need to improve. We're going to need our fans to come with a lot of energy, and I think when you watch football around the country, you see how fans matter. You watch the false starts at the end of the Alabama game, and the inability for people to hear a cadence when they're trying to use verbal cadence. So we saw the effect of it in the Kentucky game, by our crowd. So we need that again.
And I imagine there will be a great atmosphere down in Oxford, Mississippi. Tomorrow as Auburn comes to town, and folks are excited about this Ole Miss team, and rightfully so.
Yeah, because they have a great quarterback, and they have a really, really good running game with Judkins and the rest of that running back room. This, to me, is a really, really talented Ole Miss offense, and what they've been able to do, probably better than anybody, is go from a team that really leans heavily on the pass to being really balanced. And I think when you have that, and you have a team that rushes and passes for 200 apiece, it's a recipe for a really solid football team, because now you make defenses have to prepare for everything.
Yeah, good point there. Another big SEC game, Mississippi State at Kentucky. The Dogs 4-point favorites right now over Kentucky. This should be a great game. Both teams with great quarterbacks, and I'm excited about this one.
For a long time, the SEC really struggled with having good quarterbacks. It was really top heavy, but now you see it down the line. But this, to me, represents, outside of Bryce Young, two of the best quarterbacks that are in this league. Both guys expected to be taken in the first round of the upcoming NFL draft next year, and both guys have different storylines coming into this game. Mississippi State's Will Rogers playing very, very well right now, especially over the last 3 games. Ever since they lost to LSU, lights out. Meanwhile, Will Levis coming back from injury. Can he look like his old self again as well? So even within the quarterback storyline, some different dynamics playing out with both guys.
Mike Leach, Mississippi State head coach. He is known for that air raid offense. Mark Stoops kind of talked about how do you even prepare for this Mike Leach offense? Yeah,
the defense is Mark Stoops' side of the ball, and he and Leach have had a long history that goes back all the way to their days in the Pac-12.
There's a lot of things that are consistent for many years. Competing against Mike, and I could go back to some plays when I was at Arizona competing against BYU, and just like there's some things that are just consistent, and but Mike has his own way of teaching and doing things that's been proven to be successful year in and year out for a long time, and he has answers to different defenses, and I think in that regard it may be similar. Pressure, you're getting certain things, and the way they execute, you got a lot of respect for it, and it's a very difficult offense to defend, and with Will Rogers and the comfort level that he has right now, certainly playing at a very high level.
That was Mark Stoops there, Kentucky head coach, and Mississippi State at Kentucky tomorrow night on the SEC Network. Georgia hosts Vanderbilt, and the Bulldogs 38-point favorites. You got LSU at Florida 2.5-point favorite. And then you've got Arkansas at BYU tomorrow to round out our look around the SEC.
Yeah, it should be some great matchups there, especially with LSU, Florida. Usually that game kind of will find out the trajectory of the two teams after that football game.
Yes. Some other notable matchups to look at. We've got several of them. Penn State at Michigan. I think this is going to be a really good one. Penn State 5-0, Michigan 6-0. They got Michigan a 7-point favorite there in Ann Arbor. What a game there. And I think Penn State has a chance to prove something. They're able to get this win.
Yeah, this is a lot like, to me, where Tennessee is right now. Can they get that marquee victory on? Well, Tennessee's at home and Penn State's on the road. But we just saw Penn State go to the road, go to a raucous atmosphere in Auburn, silence that crowd early. Auburn fans left early, and I know they want to do the same thing in the big house.
Yes, they do. Kansas at Oklahoma. Oklahoma's not been playing good, but they're 8.5-point favorites tomorrow.
That makes zero sense to me. I know Kansas is on the backup quarterback, but wow. I mean, like that's just it's a crazy line considering the fact that we just saw Oklahoma get destroyed by Texas in that matchup. So we'll see what Coach Venables and crew can do.
Oklahoma State at TCU, big matchup in the Big 12. I think the winner has the driver's seat.
Yeah, sneaky solid game there in the Big 12, kind of clouded out by the rest of the matchups that we just talked about. But Oklahoma State, in my opinion, great game against Texas Tech last week. Can they keep it going against a TCU team that plays really confidently? TCU at home is always a tough place to play.
One more here, USC at Utah. USC 6-0, Utah 4-2. Utah 3.5-point favorite.
That's another one of those you scratch your head, but learning who the favorite is in that matchup, a lot like the Oklahoma game. But Utah's a tough place to play. I think at the beginning of the season, we all thought this would be really tough. We didn't expect Utah to have 2 losses going into this part of the season. We'll see if Lincoln Riley and crew can still have as much success against a really good defense at Utah.
Sure thing. So lots of great college football happening tomorrow. But we got baseball happening today. Let's dive into that coming up next. Stick around as we continue here on WKXX Live.
WKXX.
It is a Friday afternoon as we continue here on WKXX Live. Chase Robinson, Gerhard, Mathangani here with you. And we're working our way up until 3 o'clock. That's when we'll turn it over to the press box. And we'll go get ready for some high school football. We'll have Oaks Bluff, Sylvania on the air for you tonight. 6:30 airtime for the countdown to kickoff. 7 o'clock will be kickoff there between Oaks Bluff and Sylvania. But we got baseball. 1 hour from right now, they'll be throwing a first pitch in Philadelphia as the Braves and the Phillies go at it. Game 3, news today, Spencer Strider is going to head out on the mound. He got the nod. What they're saying, though, he's just going to go a few innings. He hasn't pitched since September the 18th. Mm-hmm. And so it's hard to gauge where he's going to be at tonight. And so they're thinking a few innings. And going to have to rely on the bullpen the rest of the game.
Yeah, it's kind of interesting that they put basically the game plan out there. I mean, I think that the Phillies would have assumed that he will be on somewhat of a pitch count, maybe a modified pitch count going into it as he tries to get his arm back into place. The Braves are not in desperation mode, so I kind of understand being able to throw one of your better pitchers out there and then maybe get him some help early on, take the pressure off of him, and then let the bullpen go out and try to seal the victory. The Braves have been playing great defensively behind the pitcher. So even if he's not at his best, Swanson, Riley, the outfielders, everybody's been playing well on the back end. So this might just be a play where, hey, trust your offense, trust the guys behind the pitcher, and not have to put so much on Spencer Strider to go out and have his best perfect game.
Vaughn Grissom is going to be playing second. I think, though, the move they made with that is to get his bat in the lineup. They're going to be very aggressive with Spencer Strider being on the mound. They want to be aggressive offensively. They're keeping Rosario in. They're keeping Ozuna in. They're putting Vaughn Grissom in down there in the bottom of the lineup, which I think is going to make that bottom much stronger.
Yeah, 0 for 12 in Game 2 was the bottom of the lineup. So you knew there was going to be some tweaks over there, but with tweaks come change in your lineup and change who plays where. So the move now to put Vaughn Grissom at second, I really like it. Get his bat there in the lineup, put him towards the end. Last time in a really big game situation over in Boston, we saw what he was able to do and rode that momentum. Can this be the start of him doing that same thing in the playoffs and being able to have a nice playoff run?
Yeah, he's batting 8th, so they're putting him down there at the bottom, which I think will be good for the Braves. Aaron Nola is going to be on the mound for the Phillies. He's been good. He's been a good postseason pitcher. And so, hey, the Braves are up against a tough task tonight, but we'll see if they can pull it out.
Yeah, his overall numbers won't blow you away. He's 11-13 for the season, but he's got a really nice ERA. However, lately, he's played very well. He's won 3 of his last 4 starts, including one against the Braves. Braves fans might remember this game back on September 23rd. He went 6 innings, allowed just 4 hits, no earned runs, and the Phillies won that game 9-1. So not only is he playing well, not only is he pitching well, but he pitched well against a familiar lineup not that long ago. So an interesting dynamic playing out there on the mound for both squads.
And in other baseball today, the Yankees and Guardians actually playing right now. It is tied up 2-2 in the middle of the 7th inning. That is in New York. You'll have the Astros and the Mariners. Game 3 is tomorrow. They're in Seattle. Got the Dodgers and the Padres tonight. That series tied 1-1.
Yeah, it's been a really interesting series overall, and I think that we have an interesting situation playing out there as those 2 Southern California teams battle it out. When they got when they picked up in the trade deadline, they made that big move for Juan Soto. This is what they were wanting. They were wanting this team to be able to match up with the Dodgers.
Yeah.
Who could have forecasted that they wouldn't have Fernando Tatis? He would have added, obviously, another great piece to it. But yeah, it's an interesting situation. I think most people thought the Dodgers would just go ahead and sweep this series, but Padres making it interesting going back over to San Diego.
Yes, they sure are. And Braves-Phillies Game 3 is this afternoon at 3:37 is the first pitch. And we will not have on the air because of football. We will carry tomorrow's game. That will be at 1 o'clock tomorrow right here on Fox Sports 102.9. We'll take a break here. Got to come back and we'll go into our final segment of the day, and we will have our NFL picks and much more as we continue here on WKXX Live.
Scott Young and S.
WKXX Live on a Friday afternoon. We are rolling into our last segment here before we turn it over to the press box at 3 o'clock. They'll carry you until 5. We'll have the Lindy's College Football Report from 5 to 5:30. Game night at 5:30 with Jeff Allen. He'll preview all the high school football games. I'll be in Sylvania tonight. I'll join you at 6:30 with Greg Watkins as we'll bring you Hoax Bluff High School football from Rams Stadium there in Sylvania. And then we'll have high school football scoreboard coming your way tonight following the game. So great programming tonight and great NFL action coming up this weekend.
Yeah, most definitely. You know, another big week, but this is also the first week where we have teams on byes as well.
Yeah.
So we're starting to see there's going to be less overall games, but 4 teams they're on a bye this week. So that'll start to factor in who, number one, can get healthier in that bye week, and then obviously another great set of big games this week.
Another low-scoring game last night. Commanders and the Bears, 12-7. What was it, 12-9 last week?
Yep.
I don't know if Thursday night's just Amazon hates us or something, but again, not a lot of offense last night.
Yeah, it's been a lethargic offensive session here of the last couple of games where you need 12 points to get a win there, and it's just been bad offensive football just all around. And obviously the NFL they try their best to put like a somewhat of an okay game on that Thursday night, and then obviously keep the bulk of the heavy hitters for Sunday. But yeah, we haven't seen a really good Thursday night game in a pretty long time. So hopefully those will turn around for NFL fans.
Yeah, and Al Michaels said, if it wasn't any better than the week before, he may retire. So I don't know. How are we doing on the picks before we get into this week's picks? How did we do last week?
Yeah, the picks were really interesting. We had the recap yesterday, but just in case you weren't around for that recap, I did really, really well last week. 10-5 overall last week. I think you were 8-7 in the picks last week, and then we were both 1-2 also in our picks against the spread. So we pick every game straight up, and then we have 3 games that we like against the Vegas number, and we both went 1-2 in that matchup. 8-7 for you. So now for the season, you sit 40-34. 10-5 for me last week, and I now sit 10-5. Meanwhile, against the spread, both of us, like I said, went 1-2. So now you are 5-9 with 1 push, and I am 7-8. So both sitting a little under 500 there in that category as we once again enter another week.
All right, so let's dive into our picks for this week.
All right, so we will start with the Sunday. There's no London game this week, so we'll start with the noon window. The San Francisco 49ers are at the Atlanta Falcons just down the road. The 49ers are 5.5-point favorite.
Yeah, give me the underdog. I'm going to take the Falcons at home.
All right. I like the Falcons, and they've played hard, especially last week. But I think the Niners are a little bit too much. Jimmy G's really rolling in that one. Meanwhile, the New England Patriots are playing against the Cleveland Browns. The Browns in Cleveland. Last look, they're a 3-point favorite.
I'll go with the home team. I'll go with the Browns here.
I think I like the way Bailey Zappe's playing in the absence of Mac Jones, and I think the Patriots can go into Cleveland. It's a little bit of a get-back game for Coach Belichick as well, who's been fired by Cleveland. I don't think that ever left them. So I'll go with the Patriots in that matchup as the underdog. Meanwhile, the Jets and the Packers, Jets playing better, but the Packers are a 7-point favorite.
I'm going to go with the Jets. I like the way they played last week, and I think they're going to take down the Packers.
I like the Jets as well, and I got a couple Jets on my fantasy team, but I'm going to go with Aaron Rodgers on this one. They had some turmoil last week in London. I think they'll get it turned around at home. The Jacksonville Jaguars, who lost last week, are back on the road. They'll take on the Indianapolis Colts. The Colts are a 2-point favorite.
Yeah, let's see. I'll take the Jags.
Yeah, it's going to be hard taking the Jags after seeing what I saw last week, but I have overall trust in Trevor Lawrence and company. I'll go with the Jags as well in that matchup. Meanwhile, the Vikings and the Dolphins. Vikings on the road in Miami, but they're a 3-point favorite in that matchup.
Yeah, just a lot of questions on Miami right now. I'll take Minnesota.
Yeah, there are a ton of questions for Miami. This is one of those weird ones where I just don't know if I can trust Kirk Cousins on the road. I'm going to go with the Dolphins there in that matchup. Meanwhile, the Bengals and the Saints. Bengals are on the road, and they're a 1.5-point favorite in New Orleans.
I'm going to take New Orleans. I'm going to take the Saints in this one. They're at home. I think they can win.
I think the Bengals they found something. I don't know what they found, but I think they found a little juice. I'll go with the road team as the favorite in that matchup. Another big game Ravens and the Giants. The New York Giants have been playing really well. Only one loss on the year, but it's the Ravens on the road, a 5-point favorite in the matchup.
I've got to go with the Giants. Like you said, they've been playing really good. Yes, I think the Ravens are good as well, but I like the Giants.
Yeah, there's something about this line that it stinks. It feels fishy, and I'm just going to go with the Baltimore Ravens just to win the game because I think Vegas knows something because New York has been playing very well. Meanwhile, final game in that window, Bucks and Steelers. Bucks an 8-point favorite as they go to Pittsburgh.
I'll take the Bucks.
Yeah, I'm taking the Bucks as well. I just don't believe in Kenny Pickett as of right now, and I think that the Steelers are got a lot of problems. The Panthers and the Rams. Panthers obviously firing their head coach last week, and you have the Rams right now an 11-point favorite.
Yeah, you got to go with the Rams. Things just aren't going well in Carolina. Down a quarterback, Baker Mayfield out. Without your head coach, you got to take the Rams.
Yeah, I'm taking the Rams as well because I think there's some incentive now for the Panthers to not win games, namely trying to get a quarterback for next year. I'm going with the Rams as well. Cardinals and Seahawks. Cardinals a 3-point favorite in Seattle.
I'm going to take Seattle. Geno Smith's been playing well. I'll take the Seahawks.
For some reason, I just keep believing in this Cards team. I'm going to pick the Cards to come up with a win in that matchup. And meanwhile, Bills and Chiefs, this is the big one going back to Kansas City. As of right now, Buffalo is the 2.5-point favorite.
I'm going to take the Bills. I think they will go in there and get a win over the Chiefs.
I think the Chiefs will be so upset that they are the underdog at home. Arrowhead, tough place to win. I'm going to go with the Chiefs there in that matchup. Sunday night game, Cowboys and Eagles. The Eagles a 5-point favorite over the Cowboys.
Eagles are 5-0. They're playing really good. They're at home. I think Eagles win it.
Yeah, I want to go with Cooper Rush in this matchup, but I really like the Eagles as well. He's been playing very well, but I like the Eagles. Final game, Monday Night Football, Broncos and Chargers. Chargers a 5-point favorite at home.
Yeah, I'll take the Chargers just because they're at home.
Yeah, it's one of those things where I don't trust the Chargers always, but I'll trust them here in this matchup. I'll go with the Chargers. Actually, you know what? I'm changing that. It's a last-minute change. I had Chargers on my piece of paper. I'm going to change it over. I'm going with the Broncos.
All right. Very good there. What you got against the spread?
My 3 spread games are going to be the New England Patriots, the Bengals, as well as the Rams to cover that big number.
All right. I'll go Falcons, Jets, and Giants.
All right. I like it.
3 against the spread. That's all the time we have today. We got to get out and get ready for some football. We got the press box coming up next. Hoax Bluff football at 6:30. Scoreboard following the game. Have a great weekend. Enjoy all this great football, and we'll talk to you next week.
The press box.